Alright. Think... Nope. I think we're ready to go. Hey, Aya. Oh, what are the odds? Arguably I had some bad timing because of the time I decided to do my Tetris 99 dailies, someone very, very, very good happened to be in the same lobby as me. But maybe it's fortunate that it's timed like that. So now we can continue with 4 PM. The banks are well and truly closed. And I think it's Archie's turn to go first. That yes, it is fortunate. So much promotion for Aya Kamiki. Anyway. Archie could hear ambulance and police sirens wailing on the main road. He looked down at Hitomi, slumped on a park bench beside him. "You sure you're not hurt?" he asked quietly, offering her a bottle of water. "I'm okay." Hitomi took a sip from the bottle. Thanks. I've managed to calm down a bit some. Some of the colour had finally returned to her face. I mean, I just noted that because, like, as I've said before, I don't think Aya Kamiki is especially popular, but they're very much putting her forward as seeming the only pop star that exists. Archie began hesitantly. "Inside that minivan." Maria wasn't in there. There was relief in her voice, but also a note of pathos. "I got a look in through the windshield. There was a man laid out in the back seat, but nobody else." The dark cloud lifted from Archie's face. "So it wasn't your sister?" "No, I didn't see his face. Just that he was wearing a business suit." Archie felt the tension ebbing from his body. "That's good then, that it wasn't her." "I'd been worried." It was a shame about the poor devil who had been killed, though. Who was it, and why had he been there? He was too busy texting to get out of the car. So I guess we're out of leads," Hitomi murmured. She hung her head. "We could try the surveillance center again for now," Archie said. "It'll probably give better odds of finding your sister than just walking around." "I guess you're right. Shall we then?" Hold on." Archie had a sudden flash of inspiration, for the first time in his life. "My house is a lot closer from here. Maybe I should ask my dad if we can check the cameras from home." "You can do that?" "We have the same system at our home. I'm sure my dad will let us use them." The two got up and headed for Endo Electronics. Archie decided to let his father know they were coming. He turned on his phone and they walked along. He had it off for a while, so first he checked his voicemail. There was one message. Wondering who might have called, he played it back. "Is this Archie Endo's personal cell phone? This is Dr. Saeki from Shibuya Central Hospital." Oh shit, this is a plot thread we haven't seen in a while. Saeki, heart specialist and Suzune's attending physician, a preeminent surgeon who has successfully performed the Batista procedure. How does that compare to a Batista bomb? Wherein the left ventricle is reconstructed after a third of it has been removed. Archie's expression stiffened. He pressed the phone closer to his ear. "There's been a sudden change in Suzune's condition. I tried calling your home as well, but got no answer." Archie felt the edges of his vision growing dim. "As her brother, it would be good if you can come to the hospital as soon as possible. It's..." "Archie?" Hitomi's voice was full of concern. "Sorry, I just gotta make a call here." Fingers trembling, Archie dialed his house. The phone rang several times before switching over to the answering machine. Damn it, where the hell are you, Dad? That's a weird answering machine message. What's wrong? Hitomi asked. It's Susan. It sounds like things have gotten pretty bad. Well then, we need to get to the hospital right away, Hitomi said. She sounded as anxious as Archie was. We can't go yet. Archie shook his head quietly. First we have to save your sister. Hitomi bristled angrily at that. What are you talking about? She grabbed Archie by the arm and shook him. You need to be thinking about your sister. I can't. I made a promise to Suzune. A promise to help people and see things through to the end, when something important is on the line. He struggled to get the words out. If I break that promise, I really am no good to her. But Hitomi didn't look like she was going to back down. Oi, get back here! A threatening shout rang out from nearby. Archie looked around and startled to see a boy about high school age bolting from behind the building on a side street. Several slightly older men were hot on his heels. Archie knew their faces all too well. They were all members of SOS. They caught their quarry just before he could make it out of the main road. Heh heh, gotcha, newbie! So the kid they were after must have been a member too. Let me go! Oh, we'll let you go, alright. After you pay up. One of the young men snatched the boy by the collar and shoved him against the wall of a nearby building. Ow! The boy's face scrunched up. What are you talking about? Playing dumb, huh? Interjected one of the onlookers. We told you that all members have to pay monthly dues, yeah? The privilege of getting to call yourself SOS don't come free after all. Archie felt his blood boil. SOS was trying to pull a Mr. Shakedown on this new kid under the guise of calling it dues. Slang for extortion, a full-fledged crime. Naturally, the direct shakedown, gimme all your money punk, is quite unpleasant, but more roundabout ways of being shaken down can leave a bad taste in one's mouth. Someone who was surrounded in the street by 8 people in pompadours who said, begging your pardon, but could you please hand over your money, might suffer no physical harm, but could still be the victim of a shakedown. It would have been unthinkable for them to do something like this back when Archie was running the show. Hey, he barked. Let the kid go. He marched toward the group. Say what now? They turned to look, their faces immediately going pale. Oh, hey Archie. Let him go. Archie focused his glare on the fellow holding the kid until he released his grip. You guys always go around doing stuff like this? None of the gang members answered. Said, hey Alex. They merely turned their gazes glumly to the ground. Hey, Archie turned to the younger boy. Since when have they been doing this? But of course he realised there was no way the newbie could be able to tell him. I leveled up on Tetris today, Alex, and I also got to spot Choco at level 27 already. Never mind, you can go, Archie gestured toward the main road. The boy was quick to run off. Archie waited until the boy was gone before turning back to the others. Does Susan know you're going around collecting dues like this? He asked. Man, we don't gotta tell you that, one of them muttered. Not since you deserted. What did you just say? Archie leaned in close, getting right in the guy's face. He was met with a defiant sneer. This ain't the old SOS anymore. Not the old SOS. Archie thought back to the other gang members he'd run into earlier, with a malicious gleam in his eyes. That guy. Pretty sure he said his name was Kiryu. Oh shit! Kiryu is now Mr. Shakedown. What a plot twist. Back when Archie had been with SOS, he'd never have let a guy like that get away with acting all high and mighty. Suddenly, Archie heard a voice from behind him. Well, well, if it ain't our legendary founder. An instant later, he took a hard blow to the side of the head. Yeah, I was just out looking for some small fry, but it looks like I landed me a big one. Archie's head swam, his vision fading in and out. Before he had a chance to recover, something smashed into his knee. Is this a bad ending already? He lay crumpled on the ground, unable to retaliate as kicks and punches rained down on him. Even after Archie could no longer move, the beating didn't stop. His ruptured eardrums could barely make out the sound of Hitomi screaming. Hitomi, run. With his final plea silenced before it reached his lips, Archie felt his consciousness battered away. This is so early in the hour. What if it's possible that this bad ending is caused by an action that will be cast in the future by another character, thus proving Schrodinger's cat? Kiryu turned up out of nowhere and gave Archie a beatdown with a piece of timber, but just before he attacked Archie, Kiryu had run into someone else. That person had said something that changed what Kiryu did. The individual in question doesn't need to say something. No, the individual in question needs to say something different to ensure Kiryu doesn't go to Zogenzaka while Archie and Hitomi are there. Also, does this mean Kano has 3 bad endings in this hour? Let's go to Maria. You T-head. Oh, that's what I should have called the stream. I walk counters as a throng of people headed towards the scene of the explosion. She walks in slow motion away from explosions, because that's how cool she is. The explosion happened in Shibuya in Jinan 1 Chome, near the intersection of Kowandori and Organ Hill. There's a gun pressed against my back, leaving me no choice but to continue marching forward. I don't have time for this right now. There's something I need to do. My frantic sense of urgency grows and grows. Kanan. The only clue I have is that name. The other hazy snippets I have surface in my memory provide no answers. Please, just tell me, I murmur. Do you know who I am? When the man with the cane doesn't answer, I stop in my tracks. I'm going to start shouting, I warn him. If you want to find out who you are, then do as I say. The barrel of the gun jabs more forcefully into my back. Once you find Hitomi Osawa, you'll remember whether you like it or not. Guess I have no choice but to keep moving then. Are your memories really that precious to you? The man mutters as he starts to move again. I'm taken aback by the question. Well, yes. I mean, isn't that pretty normal? There's a bit of pause before he replies, his voice sad and distant. You're not going to remember just the good times, you know? What do you mean? I mean that sad and painful memories are going to resurface too. I guess I hadn't really thought about that. But still, whatever kind of memories they are, they're all a part of me. Oh, don't worry, I am very much used to making late replies on people's streams because I'm playing Tetris. Unfortunately, I'm not like Kelvin and I can just, like, you know, still chat in the middle of top 10 Invictus games. I'm the person I am now because of the sorrow and pain too. I want to remember. I want to remember who I am. The gunman directs me dispassionately along a series of quiet side streets. Right here. I stop at his words. In front of us is an old, multi-tenant office building. We ride the elevator to the 8th floor, then use the emergency exit to take the stairs up to the rooftop. And there we find a time machine. A cool breeze blows across my cheek. Sit down there. I do as he says, setting myself on an outdoor air conditioning unit. The man lowers his gun, but keeps it in hand. We'll just wait here for a bit. For how long? He lets out a rueful chuckle. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. No, that's me drinking water, sorry, from my water bottle. It's kind of annoying and noisy when, like, I close the lid. I decide there's no point in trying to fight him. For now I have to hope he's telling the truth and whatever's coming will help me get my memories back. If I don't know my past, how can I know what to do about this Canaan stuff? Or anything else? I stare up at the sky as I wait for whatever this assassin is waiting for. The silence between us is suffocating. Finally, I can't take it any longer. Hey, so I think this is yours. I hold out the notebook I picked up earlier. The man's surprise is plain on his face. Where did you get that? I saw the pictures inside. He snatches the book out of my hand. Then he flips through it, looking sad. I'm afraid that another agonizing silence is about to descend when he speaks at last. This is a picture of me and my childhood friends. His voice is low and quiet. We were inseparable back when we were kids. This boy here, he liked to fiddle with machines, always doing things like taking apart radios and whatnot, and putting them back together. I'm just not. I wasn't ready for any of these people with guns to have like a personality. He was a total bookworm too, so he got picked on a lot, but I was always there to save him from the police. All of a sudden, this guy's in a sharing mood, I guess. I can feel his aura of murderous rage starting to abate. The girl here was the same age as us. She felt more like a big sister. Whatever stupid things my other friends and I got up to, she was always willing to laugh it off. It can't be Canaan. What if it's the waitress? No. The other waitress, I mean. But I decided to stay quiet and keep listening. We both had a thing for her. A bashful little smile comes to his face. When we were in high school, she told me that she liked me too. So the two of us started dating. But I just have to ask. What about the other guy? He never said anything. I'm not sure how he felt deep down. Oh, alright. So then is she your wife now? No, we broke up not too long afterward. The man carefully slips the notebook back into his pocket inside his jacket. How come? It was nothing in particular, really. Things just didn't work out. He lets out a little chuckle, then stands up and brushes the dust off his pants. He looks strangely lonely. Ooh. Cliffhangers in my 4 to 8? Surely not. I don't want to know how people feel. All I want to know is how viruses feel. I prefer viruses because they make no move to encroach on me from the other side of my microscopes. This is interesting to read right now. They leave me free to let my thoughts wander as I wish. And while it may be true to say that I understand viruses, I've never been able to understand my fellow humans. I don't know them. I don't know a single fundamental thing about them. Everyone always asks, what's COVID-19? They never ask, how's COVID-19? With Tanaka dead, trying to use the backup passwords for the fingerprint scanner had become a hopeless endeavour. The only remaining means of getting entry to the storage area was to issue an emergency unlock request to the electronic lock manufacturer, and to do that they needed the approval of the 6 members on the board of directors. Returning to his study, Osawa called Makino's personal cell phone. "What is it?" Makino said gruffly as soon as he picked up. Osawa informed him of the situation, including Tanaka's death and the fact that Maria was infected. The news left Makino at a loss for words. Please, Osawa begged. You need to hold an emergency board meeting." Makino was silent for a few moments. "I'm afraid I can't do that." "Why not? Are you just gonna sit by and let my daughter die?" Osawa raged. "And not just her. If Maria goes symptomatic. That was still only an if, but Osawa was reluctant to put his fear into words. "If she goes symptomatic, the UA virus will sweep through all of Tokyo." "I realize that," Makino replied, "but one of the board members is overseas on business. Holding a meeting is impossible." Despite the gravity of the situation, he sounded astoundingly nonchalant. Osawa couldn't back down now. "There must be some other option, like a web conference or a Zoom meeting or something." "That doesn't help if we can't get in touch with him," Makino huffed. "He went missing a few days ago in the middle of his business trip. The head of Akoshi Pharmaceuticals' New York branch has been missing since April 25th, 9 PM local time. Ah, so it's April in this game. Oh, that means I might have been playing it on the day of the day. There have been no... Oh shit, wait, of course it is. It's April 28th. So the New York Police Department is investigating the possibility of some other form of foul play. You know, I might have realized it like ages ago, and it's only just now come back into my mind. Osawa was almost too appalled to be angry. "That's the most ridiculous lie I've ever heard. Would you like to speak to my on-site contact if you don't believe me?" To be fair, the real reason it's named 428 is because that's a different interpretation of the kanji of Shibuya. The fact that it's April 28th is just an unrelated coincidence. Just like how this game has no resemblance to any people in real life, any events in real life, and any K-pop artists who are named Ayakamiki. Anyway. This was like arguing with a child. If Makino was deliberately working against him, he'd never know if this disappearance was real or not. Hey, this is 443. "In that case, can you please appoint a representative in his stead?" Osawa pleaded. "Selecting a representative is a complicated process. Even if we started right now, it would take until sometime tomorrow afternoon to complete." Wow. I guess that's not as bad as America's, but I still don't like it. Actually, I guess it kind of has a merit, like, as a sort of right to left and... yeah, America's is just like... what even is logic? But then, and it would be too late for any of this to matter. "Sir, can't you see how absurd the things you're saying are?" "What would you like to have me do?" Makino barked. "These are the realities of corporate politics." "I understand, sir. You will do nothing for my daughter. That's what you're saying." By the way, we are, let me just check. We are nearly up to 4:28 p.m. Look, I'll see what I can do to appoint a representative more quickly. He hung up. Wouldn't it have been amazing if the explosion was at 4:28? His tone had suggested that waiting for an appointee wouldn't be a terribly hopeful prospect. I have no more allies, so yeah, like all 5 of them are just about to blaze it. All I have left now are foes. Oh, this is sad boy hours. Still, he'd just have to take Makino at his words. Right now, that was his only course of action. Osawa sat down, Maria goes symptomatic at like 6 p.m, but she goes chronic at 4:20 p.m. Osawa sat down in front of his computer and quietly closed his eyes. If only I could just go to sleep and wake up tomorrow morning and find all of this resolved. All I'm asking for is a miracle. But he knew reality would never be so kind. He could hold his eyes shut as long as he wanted, and it wouldn't make this hopeless situation go away. He felt the anxiety welling up inside of him until it seemed like he was going to explode. Needing a distraction from his helplessness, Osawa opened up AyaNet. He knew that this was mere escapism, but he couldn't just sit and do nothing while waiting for Makino to call back. He posted a new topic with the title, Aya Fortune Teller. I tried the Aya Fortune Teller. My results basically said I was a bad person who can't connect to the people around me. And you know what? That's exactly right. I'm only interested in my own little world. That's probably why my wife and my assistant at work got so fed up with me. My wife? It's the same with my 2 daughters. What sort of things are they interested in? Do they have a lot of friends? What are their aspirations for the future? I don't know any of those things. It never even occurred to me, though, to find out. I'm such a terrible father. I mean, I do her voice, so you've got that part right. Osawa's fingers ceased their tapping on the keyboard as he thought back to when Maria and his homie were younger. Daddy, Daddy! The 2 girls would follow him around like a pair of puppies. Their father was their everything. That much was clear just by looking at his faces. He felt a ticklish giddiness at having the girls cling to him so. He'd never felt anything like it in his life. Oh, Mochikari! But there were times when he also found it tiresome. I am sick of being the person I am. There's nothing I can do about that, though. I'm sure it's far too late for me to change. He poured out all his negative emotions into his posts. Wait. Mochikai, really? It felt like a stream of conscience's drivel, but he didn't hesitate to write it down all the same. He wanted other people to know what a miserable excuse for a human being he was. At last, when he couldn't think of anything else to do, he posted his bitter confession to the forum. He was staring numbly at the monitor when he heard a furious shout from the next room. Wait. You have got to be kidding me! It was Kajiwara, and Osawa had never heard him so angry. He's really angry. Osawa headed into the living room and found Kajiwara embroiled in a vehement argument with the other detectives. I don't care what HQ's policy is, I will not just go quietly along with this. Kajiwara had already screamed himself in red in the face. You're out of line, snapped one MPD detective. Kiichi Sawatari, with the Metropolitan Police Department's first criminal investigation section. Having heard of Kajiwara's past deeds from friends at the Shibuya precinct, he recommended to his boss that Kajiwara be assigned to the investigation at Osawa's residence. After seeing the detective's interaction with Osawa, he was confident that his recommendation was in the right. However, given the circumstances, he can't help but take a cold stance towards Kajiwara. Hold your tongue. I don't care if I'm out of line. You may have talent, I'll give you that, the other detective said. But you're just a precinct detective, and this isn't your jurisdiction. It's not your place to question orders from higher up. Wait, Osawa thought. Kajiwara really is a real detective after all. It's every word but is like, does that mean Kajiwara really is a real detective after all? Go on, explain the situation to Mr. Osawa! Kajiwara bit his lip in frustration at the other detective's orders. Very well, he said. But before he could say more, Osawa noticed that the police equipment had all been cleared off the table. Hold on, Osawa said. Has something happened? Allow me to explain, sir, Kajiwara said, his bitterness showed plainly on his face. We've been recalled, sir. The MPB has established a security force headed by the members of his Public Security Bureau to deal with the bioterrorist threat. Because the kidnapping task force has not yet found Maria, and she is infected with the virus, the task force personnel have instead been absorbed into the security force and will continue their work under its direction. Osawa narrowed his eyes, fighting to keep the confusion from his face. What do you mean by that? He was shaking, terrified to have his suspicions confirmed. I'm truly sorry, sir, for having been unable to help you. Kajiwara gave a deep and solemn bow. But Maria, what's going to happen to Maria? Another unit's been tasked with bringing your daughter into custody and taking her home, sir. That much at least Osawa could process. You're going to place her under quarantine, aren't you? Kajiwara's lips stiffened, but he nodded. In order to minimize the spread of the virus, so I'm told. No! Osawa cried. You can't do that. If you do, there won't be any way to save her. His head spun. Please, I beg of you, you need to get Maria to me. I might be able to save her. When Kajiwara didn't respond, he turned to the other detectives. Please, don't. You can't place Maria under quarantine. But the detective's only answer was to avert their eyes. Why are you all ignoring me? Please, you have to listen. If you bring her to me, I can figure something out. I know I can. He plunked himself down on the floor, yelling and flailing his arms like a child throwing a tantrum. But they are the cops. Waiting. The detectives exchanged sullen looks with one another and then walked off and left him there. He knew he must be a sorry sight, but nevertheless he kept shouting after them. Please, don't stand by and let my daughter die! Oh, not cats. Only Kajiwara remained with him in the living room. I'm sorry, sir. This was beyond my ability to stop. He gave another apologetic bow. Osawa felt suddenly deflated. No, you've done a fine job, Kajiwara. It's me who should be sorry. You should watch my yesterday's VOD, Waiting. It explains everything. I've made such a disgraceful display of myself. Was he there at that moment? Oh, okay, yep. Never mind. That's not true, sir. In fact, I'm deeply moved. I can tell how much Maria must mean to you. Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Osawa shook his head. If I'd really been thinking about Maria, I would have made more of an effort to work with you detectives more. That was all just self-absorbed shouting. A moment of emotional selfishness. And yet, as a result, you convinced me to stay here with you. Kajiwara proceeded to pull out his phone and put in a request for the task force headquarters to remain in the Osawa residence. He got into a heated spat with his commanding officer, but ultimately received permission to stay on as the police liaison with Osawa. Thank goodness he's never leaving. Well, the detective said when he'd hung up, you see, there are some people who are legitimately moved by a parental display of emotion. Even if I'm not certain that I can do you very much in staying here with you. To be honest, it was, Kano's girlfriend's dad. His voice is the one that was breaking me the most, but maybe that was because it was 4 hours in. That's not true, Osawa replied. There's plenty you can help me with. He looked into Kajiwara's face and smiled. For instance... I mean, let's not compliment his food too quickly. You find things that have gone missing. Ah, like that plane ticket you mean? Kajiwara gave a bashful smile. Yes, I'd never have found it if you hadn't been here, detective. Haha. Well, like they say, you can never find something when you're looking for it. Then a hint of sadness came to Kajiwara's eye and his voice grew quieter. Here comes his emotional backstory. My daughter, she had this little toy ring that she loved, and she lost it in our house somewhere. Wow. Kajiwara has had sex. I didn't realize you had a daughter, detective. She just started grade school this year. Oh really? She must be adorable. Well, I don't get to see her as much as I'd like. A lone sort of smile crossed Kajiwara's face. Why's that? Doing this job caused me to neglect my family. Finally, about 2 years ago, my wife hit me with the divorce paperwork. I wanted to be able to keep our daughter with me, but... Well, the law tends to favour the mother when it comes to custody issues. Wait, by do that, do you mean make the observation of that person has had intercourse at some point? Or is it something else? The detective pulled 2 bars of chocolate from his pocket. Osawa accepted one, but said nothing. It's okay as long as you don't refer to children as receipts. The toy ring she lost, I bought it for her as a birthday present. She loved it so much, she cried and cried when it was gone. I looked all over for it. The detective bit into his own chocolate bar with a soft snap. So then later, this toy ring, I found it after my wife took her daughter away. And do you know where it was? Osawa shook his head slightly. Under my daughter's mattress. Fell out when the bed was being taken out of her room. Okay, now this is breaking me. Isn't that funny? That it was somewhere I never would have found if she stayed. Another sad smile came to Kajiwara's face before he went on. Wait. I guess there wasn't much point though, finding it after she was already gone. The man had lost his daughter. Osawa couldn't help but sympathise. He was someone he could really talk to. He was sure of that much now. This bromance is the most important thing about this game. Detective, I apologize. I've kept things from you because I was worried they involved classified corporate information. Oh! Kajiura's eyes glimmered with interest. Earlier today, I received some emails. They could be pertinent to the case. Would you mind letting me see them? Osawa shook his head. On the contrary. Back in front of his computer, Osawa saw that ANet was still open. When he says on the contrary, that's normally not where this goes, but it is not incorrect, I suppose. Pretty Honey had responded to his forum post. Wait. Oh, yes. Now I know what voice to give Pretty Honey. One moment. Just let me read this. Osawa read the response. I get that same result. Do you really think it's too late? Don't give up hope. Hang in there. Yeah, that's what I should have called him before. It's never too late. Every family has its share of problems. Like, you'll never find one that doesn't, I'm sure. When it comes to family, there's no such thing as game over. So don't let it get you down, Julie. Besides, I did learn one thing from reading your posts. In the end, a father's happiness is his daughter's happiness. Kajiura peered into the monitor. A young girl is posting to a forum for people 40 and over? It's Pretty Honey. She always replies to my threads. The detective furrowed his brow. I see! Is something the matter? No, that last line there just has me curious is all. A young girl writing something like that! Well, that's neither here nor there right now. Let me see those emails if you would. Osawa opened his email. He pulled up the images from the human testing on the monitor. What is this? Kajiura stared at the monitor as though unable to look away. These are images from an unauthorized clinical testing of an antiviral drug I developed, carried out by my company without my knowledge. Image of a... I'm sorry, what was that? The detective frowned at unfamiliar terminology. In simple terms, the antiviral is a wonder drug to combat the UA virus. Hold on, Maria is infected with the UA virus, isn't that right? Yes, UA is a species of virus discovered by South Africa relatively recently. Roughly 12 hours after infection, patients develop a cough. Then a fever. Then begin vomiting. And ultimately begin to bleed uncontrollably from all over, resulting in death. That sounds familiar, waiting. What is that? The mortality rate is... Osawa was reluctant to say it. Kajiura held his breath, waiting. Oh, yeah, right. It's nearly 100%. And it sold 0 copies as well. So how could I be reading it? Kajiura shuddered. But wait, he said after a moment. If you have this wonder drug, then Maria... Osawa shook his head. Without Tanaka, I have no means of getting it out of the lab. Kajiura's frown deepened. I see! It may not be much to go on, but I think we can put together at least one piece of our little mystery here. Something difficult or impossible to explain. An enigma. You see plenty of books titled The Mystery of Such and Such, or The Secret of Whatever on bookstore shelves. But when you read them, you're invariably disappointed by the mystery not being that mysterious, after all. Pardon me, one moment. Kajiura inspected the email address of the sender A, then brought up the mail header. Wait a minute. What's this got to do? Whoops. Nope. Oh, okay, yep. You don't see emails like this much. It's seemingly from a foreign country, but that may be fake. It was from Pretty Honey. You can tell that just from the email. The detective flashed a little grin. Take a look here. So if we just do this, and then this,
His fingers flew over the keyboard, calling up the header details, singling out the received from field. This set of 4 numbers at the bottom is the sender's IP address. Think of it as an ordinarily hidden location marker of sorts. As he spoke, the detective pulled up a website called IP Station. He copied and pasted the set of 4 numbers and pressed the enter key. The monitor showed the name of the provider, connection method, and other such details. The vendor that provides an internet connection service. A typical internet connection requires a dedicated line. Customers who do not already have one must make a contract with one for the provider. When the provider establishes your connection to the internet, you're assigned an identifying number called an IP address. Osawa couldn't make out heads or tails of most of it, but one thing drew his eyes. It's from Access Point, Shibuya Ward, Tokyo. Kajiwara went into the email program's options and checked for the server info on Osawa's connection. Deep furrows formed in his forehead. This is the same provider that you use, Mr. Osawa!
What does that mean?
What kind of internet connection do you have here at your house?
What sort? Well, it's plugged in over there, but...
Wow, he is such an internet dad. Osawa pointed at the router. And does everyone in your family use that same line?
Yes, I think so.
Kajiwara opened up a command prompt and then you typed ipconfig. A literal prompt for users to issue computer control commands via keyboard instead of mouse, also frequently used to refer to the window or program allowing for such. Okay, so if the same numbers we saw before pop up here, that's a bad sign.
Oh?
Osawa stared at the monitor. Kajiwara pressed enter and a black window covered in white alphanumeric characters appeared. Gotta love the command prompt.
What
the heck? Kajiwara muttered under his breath.
Wait, what's going on?
Osawa asked. We forgot to celebrate 420!
Explain simply so that I can understand.
Faking an email address is simple enough, but the typical person wouldn't be able to fake an IP. It's very likely these emails were sent from another computer inside this house. Osawa had to stifle a grasp. Wait a minute. A is the first letter of I.
Dum dum.
Osawa had to stifle a gasp. These emails had been sent from his own house at around 11 o'clock that morning. Since Osawa hadn't sent them himself, that left only one possible culprit.
My wife.
Suddenly his phone rang, nearly startling him out of his seat. Makino's name showed up on the incoming call display. Osawa quickly picked up. Wait.
Is there an update on the emergency board meeting?
He blurted. Makino's voice was quiet and subdued.
I tried pulling whatever strings I could, but to no avail. I'm afraid holding a board meeting today just won't be possible.
Gotta love bureaucracy. The phone fell from Osawa's hand, and then it started ringing endlessly. His only possible means of saving Maria was now gone. What if you use an axe and just broke into it? Oh shit, we're already at the end of Osawa's hour. Let's check these other options. Because why not? His tone has suggested that waiting for a appointee would be a terribly hopeful prospect. I have no allies, so I thought all I have left now yeah, anyway. He couldn't count on anyone anymore. Osawa was just going to have to get the antiviral by himself. Tanaka might be dead, but there still must be some way to get that lock open. Taking extra care to avoid the notice of the detectives, Osawa snuck out of the house and headed for the garage. I want to watch that clip, but I don't want to right now on the stream. Oh? Obviously I already said it, it's a clip of my stream. I'm just gonna flick it back. Why does that text have to take so long? Banana time, boys. I can have a banana whenever I want. Kajura returned Osawa's grin even more brightly, even though on this timeline Osawa rejected the banana. Yes, yes, of course! By all means, have as many as you like! He then produced a pair of bananas from his pocket, handing one to his companion. Osawa peeled his banana and took a hearty bite. Is he like, he's Mr. Scorpio from that Simpsons episode. Osawa peeled his banana and took a hearty bite. The mild sweetness was pleasant and soothing. It was a flavour that brought back memories. I often eat bananas when I go to the park with my I often eat bananas when I go to the park with my daughter, Kajiura muttered mournfully. I didn't realise you had a daughter, detective. She just started grade school this year. Oh, really? This is going to be the same, isn't it? But it's different because of the picture. Wait, it's different now? It's still different. Osawa couldn't help but sympathise. The man was losing his daughter. He was someone he could really talk to. He was sure of that much now. Detective, I apologise. Yep, here we go. Is that a... When I see PP at the start of an acronym, I assume it's Puyo Puyo, but I don't know. That fried egg and rice you made me was delicious. Kajiura let out a bright little laugh. Oh, that's so nice of you to say! You flatter me! It's not flattery. Osawa shook his head seriously. Honestly, I've got a hankering for more. I wish I had your cooking skills, detective. But despite the praise, Kajiura's smile took on a note of sadness. Wait. Oh no. Anyone could make something like that after living alone like I have. So I was surprised to hear he lived alone. Detective looked like he was old enough to likely be married by now. Doing this job caused me to look like my family. Finally, about 2 years ago, my wife hit me with the divorce paperwork. I wanted to be able to keep our daughter with me, but well, the law tends to favour the mother when it comes to custody issues. So his living alone was a newer thing after being separated from his wife and daughters. Wait. Can you please elaborate? That fried egg on rice. My daughter used to love that. I mean, I'm not dropping frames this time. Is that so? Wait. Wait, shit, I've done it backwards. I can cook more proper dishes, but for whatever reason, she just really loved that one. The detective then pulled 2 bars of chocolate from his pocket. My daughter was fond of this brand of chocolate too. Kajiro snapped off a bit of his own bar and then popped it into his mouth. I would warn her that she'd get cavities if she ate too much, but she'd stuff her face to the point that there was practically always chocolate smeared on around her mouth. Kajiro sighed and a forlorn smile came to his face. Is it a problem I need to deal with somehow? Or is it something we can deal with? I guess the fact that I always carry stuff around like this in my pocket means that I'm a fool who doesn't know how to let go. Osawa shook his head. I don't think that's true at all. He understood full well what it was like to have a daughter always in one's thoughts. Osawa too broke a piece of chocolate and slipped it into his mouth. It was sweet and milky, a taste a child would love. You sure it's not just like that's what's happening in the game and like you're all reacting to it worse than me? I don't know. He looked at the residual chocolate from his fingertips, then turned back to Kajiwara. His 2 men smiled at one another. He was a man Osawa could really talk to. Wait. If the kidnappers are found after the antiviral room, why did they abduct Maria? Baffled, Osawa was increasing. Wait. That's a weird thing to be there. Detective, I apologize. I've kept things from before you because I was worried. Yep, here we go. This was no time to be looking at the internet. Osawa closed that browser. He was curious about Pretty Honey's response, but that would have to wait. Just as the browser window was closing, however, a couple of lines jumped out at him. It's never too late. When it comes to the family, there's no such thing as game over. I think we've all made that joke now. It's never too late. Right now, that was about the most reassuring thing Osawa could possibly hear. He would do whatever he could. All he could do was try his best and refuse to give up. As he pondered this, Osawa opened his email, pulling images of human testing on the monitor. I'm going to change this to the other one. I'm guessing that this is one of those locks that don't unlock because it's like an ending they haven't written. But he'll be more likely to find bad endings on other people's paths if he's doing the wrong thing. Wait, whoops. I think it's Minori Kawa's turn. Ah yes, Hitomi, the character from IIR, the Solomnium Files. Minori Kawa needed to get back to the editing office right away, but despite the urgency, he barely stumbled along. He was swaying on his feet, only half aware of where he was even going. No, this is not some sort of sick joke. He just couldn't accept that Toyama was dead. Exactly, yeah. He let out a lifeless sigh. A cynical smile crept onto his face. The man did insist on having his own way. But kill himself? Even though this happened in like 3 bad endings now. Back when he was still a novice reporter, Minoru Kawa had written a piece about a middle school girl who'd committed suicide. And it was called Doki Doki Minoru Kawa Club. The school had made a statement denying that bullying had been a factor. And so most of the media had reported that she'd suffered a nervous breakdown over entrance exams. The period of mental illness manifesting in panic disorder, stress-induced anxiety, or the like. The term is commonly used to refer to serious health issues such as, what's the proper term for it? Or bipolar disorder, mania depression, as well as the build-up of more minor stresses as part of the everyday life. Because it is so broadly and vaguely defined, it is generally avoided in psychiatric contexts. Dissociative identity disorder, that's it. But something about the case had been kept nagging at him. Chronic nagging. Had her death really been a suicide? The more people he interviewed about the incident, the more his doubts grew. The city news editor, however, would not allow him to conduct a follow-up investigation, and the reason why was simple. He knew too much. This was the sort of thing that happened every day. They couldn't waste time on a case that was already on the books. It was more important for a reporter to find news stories than squander on time engrossed in a case that was old news. Minoru Kawa understood the editor's decision well enough. But that didn't mean he had to like it. He'd been sulking up on the roof, slowly nursing a cigarette, when the paper's local news copy editor Toyama happened to drop by. At a newspaper, an employee who evaluates the quality and suitability of reporters' copy and coverage, effectively the boss of a group of reporters. However, the copy editor typically works under a section editor who has the final say about what makes the page. A middle management position caught between upset reporters and an angry section chief. Good night, Effie.
Did they say no to the follow-up interviews?
Tam asked.
About that girl's suicide?
The name of the girl who killed herself is Chiharu Fuyutsuki. After reading her diary, Minoru Kawa became convinced it wasn't an ordinary suicide. 6 years from now, Minoru Kawa will run into a certain teacher, and the investigation into the student's death will be reopened. But that's another story for another time. Sequel! Yeah, Minoru Kawa expelled a plume of his smoke along with his sigh. Nothing tasted quite as bad as a cigarette when he was down in the dumps.
Wait. So what are you gonna do?
I'm not gonna do anything, Minoru Kawa said. Editor told me no.
Oh, editor said not to. You sound like a child.
The rough made Minoru Kawa's temper flare. There are other interviews to do. I want to do a follow-up on this one, but there isn't any time.
You dumbass!
Toyama hauled off and hit him right across the face. What happened to?
I wrote what I feel in my heart. That's the one thing I refuse to break down on. What happened to the guy who used to bitch at me like that?
Toyama's words hit their mark with painful precision.
The interviews aren't over until you have what you need. No, you refuse to let them be over. You go after the truth no matter what anyone tells you. Isn't that what being a journalist is all about?
Minoru Kawa scowled in chagrin. The man is exactly right. Until you have what you need. Those words have stuck with Minoru Kawa ever since. In fact, he quit the paper to become a freelancer because he couldn't do his job the way he wanted while trapped in that hierarchy. Now he wondered, what if Toyama hadn't killed himself, but instead been the victim of a terrorist attack? After considering the idea for a moment, he thought bitterly, so what? What if Toyama and Tanaka are the same person? The reason the detail hardly mattered at this point. What mattered was that Toyama was dead. Minoru Kawa sat down listlessly and stared up at the sky. The blank swath of blue made him feel all the more worn out. Just what had all of his days running around been for? He felt so empty, so hollowed out by loss. All his motivation to be drained away, He had no idea what he should do next.
Hey, Minori, what should you do?
He tried to listen to his inner voice. These both seem the same.
You've forgotten your passion. You need to get that back.
Yeah, that was his only hope, really. He needed to turn back the clock, to reclaim the fire that used to burn inside him, and pick a different choice on the decision trees. And he knew just how to do that, by pressing Y on his Xbox controller. Before he could, however, a young man stumbled across his path, taking a nasty fall on the pavement.
Ow, oh, damn, that hurts.
The youngster scrambled back to his feet and turned to Minorikawa with a snarl.
What are you looking at, pal?
The young man clutched a piece of timber like a club. There was a nasty gleam in his eyes. Hey, you seem familiar.
I'm not looking at anything, Minorikawa said. I just happen to be looking your direction. Shut your yap. Apologize, bitch, now.
The punk raised his cudgel.
Before, you tripping me, man. Ain't you gonna apologize for that?
The kid had stumbled all in his own, but it was probably too embarrassed to admit it. Guess he's got to vent his anger at someone.
Listen, kid, Minorikawa said. It's not my fault you're such a klutz.
You know, like the pedal in a car that's got a manual transmission? Oh, that's a clutch. Okay, so then like the lumps of earth or clutch, those are clods, you say? Alright, then we're talking about the sort of social get-together for a coffee and conversation. Alright, that's a clutch. Is it when you try to fix something using stuff that isn't really meant for your purpose? That's a kludge. Okay.
The hell you just say to me? You got a death wish, pal?
With a murderous glare, the punk advanced on him, brandishing his weapon. Hey, Minorikawa said. Hang on. I'm guessing he says this and that's what causes him to go over to see Archie.
Alright, I'm sorry.
Getting dragged into the street fight was not what he needed right now. It was better to just apologize and be done with it.
Should have shown me that kind of respect from the start.
The punk shook his head, muttering under his breath.
Another dumbass gotta get taught some manners.
With that, the young thug headed off... Wait, young thug? Cool. Headed off in the direction of Doganzaka. I didn't know Young Thug was in this game. Minorikawa headed to the roof of a nearby building and lit himself a cigarette. Tiny tendrils of white smoke drifted lazily up into the blue sky. As his eyes tracked the twisting movements of the smoke, memories of Toyama and their newspaper days played through his mind. Practically any time the two men needed to speak to one another, they'd got into a heated argument on the spot. Minorikawa cherished his subjective viewpoints. Minorikawa, like, dressed like that is so weird to me. While Toyama insisted on objectivity for the reader. Neither shied away from vigorous headbutting. But once, like... Come on, Toyama, there's no such thing as objectivity. But once the articles were on the page and out the door, it was all water under the bridge. It felt almost like the referee calling no side at the end of a rugby match. The phrase called out by referee to signal the end of a rugby match refers to the fact that no side has possession of the ball, allowing the two teams to part on sportsmanlike terms. The truth was that, somewhere deep down, Minorikawa got where Toyama was coming from. Without objectivity, readers didn't get facts. Without subjectivity, they didn't get emotional impact. Minorikawa had to credit Toyama for helping him become a full-fledged reporter. Mr. Toyama was in there. It was suicide. Wait, that's what Chiaki said. Minorikawa let Chiaki's words drain from his mind, overriding them with one irresistible fact. The truth. The truth was in anything and everything. The truth could not be forgotten. The truth was all that remained in the end. And Chiaki has bad intel. I think. Minorikawa smirked grimly at himself. He'd come up here hoping to reignite his journalistic passion, but instead the emptiness within him had only grown. Yeah, I guess it's going to take a while. He sparked up a second cigarette. Maybe this is also a keep out that you can't continue because it's the wrong ending, but I will continue with Kano now. Because I'm not seeing any jumps. Arriving back at the Shibuya precinct, Kano hurried to the interrogation room. With the investigation currently on hold, he knew that taking any official action would be tricky. If he was going to break through this stalemate, he was going to need Tatano's help. The abduction, the ransom, the attaché case relay, Maria's release, and then Tanaka's death. Maybe Tatano would be able to figure out how all these elements were related. But first, Kano needed to check something for himself. Tatano would never let Al go free. Kano needed the prisoner to set the record straight. Or he needs to listen to the song by the band Reef, set the record straight. Al sat in the precinct interrogation room, looking brazen and cocksure. One glance at his face, and Kano was reminded of what had happened to Sasayama. Fresh anger smouldered at the edges of his mind. There were 2 detectives already in the room. It seems he wasn't made privy of the details, one of them told Kano. Sounds like they were following orders carrying that attaché case around, the other added. Kano sat down across from Al. There's something I'd like to ask you, he said. We were just paid to do a job. I don't know anything more than that. His Japanese was imperfect, but he understood the language well enough. Tell me, how did you manage to escape from Detective Tatano?
Escape? I didn't.
A faint smile came to Al's lips.
He let me go free.
Liar. Detective Tatano would never do that. Kano slammed the desk with his fist.
I didn't have handcuffs on, did I?
He took them off for me. This had to be a lie. It's not like there were other ways to remove a pair of handcuffs.
After he took off the handcuffs, Al continued, he pointed his gun at me.
Cut the crap. Kano grabbed the prisoner by the collar. But Al went on, unperturbed.
He kept the gun pointed at me, but he didn't pull the trigger.
So that's when I ran. Why would Detective Tatano want to shoot you?
Because I saw him.
Saw him? Saw him do what?
Let me tell you something interesting, Al said sardonically. There was the girl who was carrying the ransom, right?
Kano pictured Hitomi standing anxiously beside the statue of Hachiko.
That guy Tatano was trying to kill her.
What if Tatano is the man with the cane?
That makes kind of sense.
In a fit of rage, Kano drove his fist into Al's face. His colleagues rushed to interpose themselves. Kano, calm down. Knocked to the floor, Al gingerly fingered his split lip. And after I gave you such good info too, he grumbled. Detective Tatano was signed to protect Hitomi Osawa, Kano shouted. You can't expect me to believe you're rubbish. He lunged around the table, ready to throw another punch, but his fellow detectives held him back. Al Kuroan looked away indifferently.
It's your Detective Tatano you should be arresting, not me. That girl's gonna get killed.
You just step in line, pal, Kano bellowed.
Kano!
His colleagues shouted.
You're the one who needs to step in line. Go and cool off a bit.
Expelled from the interrogation room, Kano immediately pulled out his cell phone and called Tatano's number. Please pick up. He clutched his phone tight, pleading under his breath. But Tatano didn't answer. Like, that just feels like... If that's a reveal, like, on one side it feels like so dumb, but maybe it's, like... has it been just staring me in the face this whole time, that he's the man with the cane? Kano. Kano sat down on the chair the whole way with a bit of a daze. He found himself holding the present Sasayama had gotten for his wife. For his wife Mion. I have to do something. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do. His restlessness gnawed at him like a rabid animal.
Hey, Kano.
He looked up to see Kuze standing beside him, his expression grave. I have an update on Sasayama, the director began. Kano swallowed a lump in his throat. It seems the knife went in deep enough to do some organ damage. He's in critical condition.
What if Sasayama is Archie's sister?
I see. Kano bit his lip hard. His handkerchief, red with Sasayama's blood, clung to the wrapping paper of Sasayama's present. Kano peeled it away carefully so as not to tear the paper beneath. "What's that?" asked Kuze. "Sasayama had me hold onto this for him. It's a present for his wife, Mion." "I see." "I'm sorry, Directive Kuze, for ignoring your orders." Kano's eyes remained fixed on the gift as he spoke. "When you get down to this, none of this would have happened if it weren't for me. Some kind of punishment was surely headed his way for acting alone as he had. He probably wasn't getting out of this one with a simple written apology. When the public servants are negligent in their duties or violate regulation, they can be punished with warning, a formal reprimand, reduction in pay, suspension or dismissal. In the case of a warning, in addition to the remonstration from a direct supervisor, the individual must also submit a formal letter explaining the relevant details and ensuring it won't happen again." But Kuze calmly shook his head. "What happened to Sasayama isn't your fault. Don't blame yourself," he said. "As far as this case goes, I've been quite a runaround myself." There was a rare note of vulnerability in Kuze's voice. "The higher-ups have barely let me information trickle my way, but they're still ordering me around non-stop. It's a pain in the ass." Kuze felt silent, ruminating. The quiet lingered between the two men for several moments before he abruptly spoke again. "Alright, I'd like to get your opinion on something. So, Mamoru Tanaka, who we found in the minivan, you know? What do you think? Should we order maybe release his name to the media?" Kuze had slipped into his childish treasure. He was clearly exhausted. After dealing with the kidnapper's baffling action and too much meddling from the higher-ups, even a veteran like Kuze is just beat. But that is not the only reason for his exhaustion. Kuze has a brother, 6 years his senior, who, despite being nominally mature, refuses to get a real job and shows no inclination to settle down with a family. He walks around town day after day dressed like a hippie and treating passers-by to songs he's written. Kuze has been worried about his shiftless brother for years now. The guy's become a chronic source of consternation. That is random backstory, unless it actually matters somehow. Kano was thrown by the question. It was a rare thing to see the director see an opinion from a mere junior detective. "It feels like there's something not normal about one of Kenji Osawa's subordinates dying," Kuze went on. Kano had the same thought. This felt too intentional to be a coincidence. So here's the question: should I get the media involved, or should I and try to rush for a resolution, or should I be more cautious? What would you do? "About releasing the name?" Kano asked. That wasn't such a simple thing to answer. There were so many factors to consider. A tight smile came to Kuze's face. "Don't think about it too hard. This is just so I don't have a point of reference. Tell me what your gut says." I think the reason the name should be alright. Oh wait, no, if we release the name, that's how Minorikawa finds out that it wasn't Toyama. Let's change it. I think we should hold back for now. Because they rambled. "We still don't know if Mamoru Tanaka was murdered or he committed suicide," Kano pointed out. "We should at least wait until we know that much. This case had so many loose ends that it could lead in dangerous directions. It would pay to be prudent as possible." Kuze paused for a moment and thought, then nodded. "I see what you mean. Alright then." Then without another word he headed back to the conference room. On the TV, the governor's press conference was still going on. "I've just requested that each of the railroad companies, starting with JR, stop running the trains through Shibuya Station until further notice that COVID-19 has been contained. As far as roads go, Route 246 has already been closed to traffic." Wait, is that the 46th of February or the 24th of June? The executive looked pale as he spoke to the crowd. "Is there any possibility of a bioterrorist attack? What about the people who are still in Shibuya?" The reporters unleashed a barrage of questions. The governor's face scrunched up. "As I've already made clear, this is not a complete blockade. Because modern Japan does not have a system for enacting martial law, there are a few ways the government could effectively quarantine Shibuya. In the case of potential viral infection, infectious disease law allows for cities to be partitioned into areas of restricted movements. If the authorities do not want to acknowledge the existence of the top-secret UA virus, however, taking such an action would be rather tricky legally. There's nothing to stop anyone from leaving Shibuya on foot." Isn't what you're describing de facto martial law?" spat one reporter. "Of course not," the government snapped. "You should be well aware that martial law is illegal. I couldn't declare it even if I wanted to." "If you wanted to? So this is a bioterrorism act?" "I never said anything of the sort." The press conference was evolving into chaos. Kano was under surprise, given the circumstances. Still, everyone was doing their best insofar as they knew how. Why not me, Kano thought. It doesn't matter what I do. I just want to be doing something. Just letting time tick by without taking action is doing more than he could bear. Kano. Kano was worried about Sasayama and decided to visit him in the hospital. These seem to be very different decisions. I wonder what's the bad ending and the good ending. As he was making his way towards the hospital, Kano spotted the girl sitting on a pedestrian overpass. She looked like she was on the verge of tears. Concerned, he stopped beside her. Are you waiting for someone, he asked. The girl simply bit her lip and said nothing. Are you lost? Do you need a policeman? The relatively low crime rate in Japan, combined with the rather high police personnel numbers in Tokyo, mean that officers, particularly beat cops, often have plenty of bandwidth to deal with more minor issues. Again, the girl gave no answer. Where did you come from? Kano tried. Still nothing. He had just decided to go and call the female officer when the girl hesitatingly spoke at last. Heaven Publishing. After a little coaxing, she told him where that was. It turned out it was on the way to Shibuya Central Hospital, not far from where they were now. Why don't they take you there then? Kano said. I'm already headed in that direction anyway. The girl seemed a bit reluctant at first, but eventually she agreed to go with Kano. Heaven... Yep, it's Heaven Publishing. Kano parted ways with the girl outside the building where Heaven Publishing was located. He noticed that she hesitated to enter at first, but eventually she vanished inside. It's an allegory for heaven itself. Kano's phone rang as she was about to continue on his way. When he peered at the incoming call display, his heart nearly stopped. There was Tatano's name. Kano quickly pressed the button to accept the call. Detective Tatano? Detective Tatano, is that you? There was a whole mountain of things Kano wanted to ask. Just what had he been doing this whole time? Why had he let Al go free? And what had happened to Hitomi? But when he was trying to decide what question to pose first, Tatano spoke.
I've secured Maria Osamu. Yep, he's the man with the cane.
What? The word came out as a standard gasp. Or is that something they revealed ages ago and I just forgot about it for ages? Or is this when you're finally supposed to find out about this? Tatano, you have to bring her here ASAP. Right now she's... Tatano cut him off.
You need to bring Hitomi Osawa to my location at once.
Hitomi Osawa?
Yes. I heard over the wireless that the man from the US Embassy had her in custody.
Kano hadn't been listening to the most recent wireless traffic. Apparently Stanley had managed to find Hitomi. But what was Tatano getting at here? Wait, hold on. What for? I mean, why do you need to bring me to bring Hitomi Osawa to you? I mean, what I was trying to think, like... I think I was mainly asking if I'd heard his name in the present tense before, or I was mixing up with another name. Or if he'd only appeared in the past, yeah. There was no reply. Detective Tatano, answer me, please. Tatano replied as if he hadn't heard Kano's questions.
There's an office building in Nampeidai named South Hill. I'll be waiting for you on the rooftop. If you don't bring her, I'll kill Maria.
With that grisly warning, he hung up. I want to assume that he just knows that Hitomi has the antiviral on her, but I'm not sure. Kono's hand went limp. His phone slipped from his grasp, and he fell to the floor. Keno went to South Hill in Nanpeidai alone. The building takes its name from a rough translation of Nanpeidai, the name of the area where it is located. The official name is South Hill Building, but since it's awkward to say, it is frequently shortened. He hadn't brought Hitomi as Tatano had demanded, nor had he reported the situation to Kuze. First he wanted to meet with Tatano and find out what was going on. He took the elevator to the 8th floor. After he took the stairs to the rooftop. Imagine the reveal here if you hadn't already done Maria's timeline. As well. As he made his way up the steps, he tried to imagine what Tatano might want with Hitomi. He hadn't noticed anything suspicious about the senior detective in the lead up to the stakeout on the scramble. Tatano had seemed like the same man Kano had always revered. So why was he doing this? Kano couldn't think of a reason. Reaching for the top of the staircase, he at last stepped out onto the open roof. The time for half-baked conjecture was past. Kano would lay his doubts at Tatano's feet. Then, soon enough, everything would become clear. Inwardly, Kano did his best to convince himself of that. A warm breeze blew against his cheek. He took a look around, as Limp Bizkit would say, but saw no sign of Tatano. Detective Tatano, where are you? Getting no response, he began to walk around the rooftop, calling out several more times. It's Kano, I've come as you asked. Come as you ask, where's the toe? Mio saw Kano whirled around when he heard the voice behind him. I swear that I do have a gun. Tatano stepped in front of you from behind a water tank. He led him with him a young woman. Wait a minute. I can never, that lyric is from "Come as You Are." It's not. I get that and Lithium mixed up sometimes. He led with him a young woman bound and blindfolded. Wait, why didn't you bring her? He growled. Kenneth said in shock. Detective Tatano, why are you doing this? Is that really Maria? That's a big jump back. Tatano responded by removing the young woman's blindfold. Is he gonna... Like, did she know she had a gun pointed at him? With her blindfold removed, Maria slowly opened her eyes. Then, as she gazed past Kano, a panicked look crossed her face. Ah! With the blindfold off, it's less dangerous. And she shot out her arm to point. Kano whirled around in surprise. There was a man on the roof of the building across the way, looking like he was getting ready to jump. I'm not doing a Van Halen. Another quite long jump back. Why now? Kano thought to himself. He couldn't just stand idly by with someone committed suicide. He felt a pang of disgust when he saw Tatano take in a situation with an indifferent glance to make no movement to help. Clearly, I mean, because I'm going to do a bender. Do a flip! Detective Tatano, I'll be right back, Kano exclaimed. We can finish this after. Without waiting for an answer, he raced to the other building. Did he make a really big jump? Clearly not. When he got to the second rooftop, the man was still there, staring down the ground below. Don't do anything rash, Kano warned, hurrying towards him. When the man gave no response, though, Kano quickly halted. The stranger was still several meters away. Kano braced himself, ready to lunge for the man if necessary. Jenny, don't be hasty. Nobody's gonna be happy if you jump. Still, the man said nothing, simply gazing out at the sky. I don't know. I think some people might be happy. The waitress, for instance. Surely he could hear Kano now. The detective continued, keeping his voice low and conversational. I've got a co-worker. He's one of the most absurdly devoted husbands you can meet. Wait. Devoted husbands you can meet. All he does is brag about your wife. The man continues to ignore him. He was stabbed in the belly earlier today. He's in the hospital right now, on death's door. He was happy, but now his life might get snatched away from him anyway. Still, the man appeared unmoved. It was as if the words weren't reaching him. Kano had not played Life is Strange Episode 2. Do you think it's a waste to go just throw your own life away? Kano waited for the man to respond. The stranger took a purposeful stride away from the fence toward the roof's edge. Luckily, this wasn't the timeline where Kano found out that he totally dicked him out of a taxi cab. Stop! Don't do it! The man unflinchingly stepped out toward empty air. No! Kano sprung forward, somehow managed to grab hold of the stranger's wrist. He yanked the man back from the edge, only getting a blank stare in response. Don't go wasting your life like this. Don't go wasting your life. Ordinarily, Kano would have stayed and talked until he was sure this guy's death wish had passed. But there wasn't time for that right now. Maria was in just as much danger as that very moment. Whipping out his handcuffs, he shackled the man to the fence. Wait, I'm not sure what that pun is. Well, I promise I'll be coming back. Please, just stay alive a few minutes longer. Oh, okay. I thought it was the name of someone I didn't recognize. Kano left the man staring in bewilderment and raced bound to the South Hill building. I guess I just have to now find every reach of an opportunity I can to make another song reference. When he got back to the roof, no one was there. Kano immediately tried to call Tatano on his cell, but the call didn't go through. Tatano must have powered off his phone. Damn it! I guess this is growing up. Where did you go, detective? No. Where did you go, detective? He needed to hear what Tatano had to say. I was bordering on doing that, but I decided not to. He still had no idea what was really going on, or what the grim truth might be. And it seemed he had just lost his chance to find out. In desperation, Kano rushed from the building. But in his frantic search of the area, he saw no sign of either Tatano or Maria. Later, a precinct-wide manhunt failed to discover where the two had gone. From that day forward, Kano was empty inside, carrying out his duties as a detective with bleak detachment. When Kano caught sight of the man about to commit suicide, it was Minoru Kawa, he couldn't ignore the situation and impulsively rushed to rescue, but lost track of Tatano and Maria as a result. If Minoru Kawa hadn't turned up on the rooftop, Kano would have been able to focus on his primary mission. But now let's go to Minoru Kawa's timeline. So we get this obviously bad ending where he's stuck on a roof because no one's going to come save him. Maybe. From the edge of the rooftop, Minoru Kawa gazed down at the city below, no longer aware of the passage of time. No matter how hard he tried to write about the truth, ultimately he hadn't been able to change anything. So what had it been all for? The last ghost of his desire to keep up the struggle left him as he considered how meaningless it had all been. Wow, that's a quick timeline jump. Don't do anything rash! An intruder abruptly shattered his brooding silence. A man in a suit had appeared behind him. Now he rushed closer, calling out with concern. Calling with concern. Let's not be hasty! Nobody's gonna be happy if you... Jump! Wait, sorry. Criss-cross will make you... If he jumped. Minoru Kawa stepped to the very edge and cast his gaze straight down. Whoa! Downtown. Whoa! I cannot believe that I don't understand the point of fingers. That might not be a bad idea. Hell, maybe some part of him actually wanted to. Suddenly, it felt like the natural course of action. I mean, that's what I was saying to begin with. From up here, the city would look like a miniature diorama of cars and people. It didn't quite seem real. Stop! Don't do it! Don't do it, because it's not what it seems. Minoru Kawa took a step forward, despite the stranger's words, feeling a splendid sense of liberation as he did so. He allowed his body to go limp, consigning himself to the fall. But just as he began to topple, he was abruptly yanked back. Don't go wasting your life like this, the stranger basked. The look on his face was so outrageously solemn, and then for some reason he slapped a handcuff on Minoru Kawa's right wrist. Well, before Minoru Kawa could react, the man locked the second cuff in the pair around a nearby fence. I did not do that intentionally. I promise I'll come back. Please, just stay alive for a few minutes longer, okay? And with that, the guy darted away. What the hell? Minorikawa muttered. He found himself alone again, unable to go anywhere even if he wanted to. Feeling emptier than ever, he resumed aimless vigil, staring across Shibuya. Because he wants to. Because he wants to. And in the end, the man never did come back. Not even after the sun had set. And night had fallen. The next bleak morning came. Was everyone dead? Like, are we gonna address that? Some guy, it was Kano of course, showed up out of nowhere, handcuffed Minorikawa and left him to languish on the rooftop. It had looked to Kano like Minorikawa was contemplating suicide, an understandable mistake under the circumstances. Maybe now wasn't the best time to reminisce about the past. Minorikawa is like Fry's dog. Hang on, wait. Oh yeah, that's that one. What is this decision? This doesn't make him go off the rooftop, does it? Oh. Stand up! Right now, you just need to forge ahead. Let me see. So that does change Kano's path. That's curious. Yeah, that was his only option, really. He couldn't let things end like this. Wait, what about Archie? Archie still has a bad end. And he still didn't have what he needed for his articles, so Minorikawa took a deep breath, ready to get back on his feet. Before he could, however, a young man stumbled across his path. Yep, okay, that's the same. Hey. Is it fun hitting people with that thing? The corner of the punk's mouth curled up. Oh yeah, real fun! Fun with a full stop and a lowercase f. Only a dumbass beats people with bare hands. You just wind up hurting your fists. If you're gonna enjoy some violence, you gotta have yourself a weapon. Uh-huh, I see. In that case, maybe arrest it with a stick, yeah? Huh? What for? The punk scowled in irritation. I mean, I think it's safe to say they're about to set the world on fire in a metaphorical sense. The punk scowled in irritation. Don't get me wrong, Minorikawa said. I'm just saying there have to be better weapons than that. Something that could take a man down in a single blow. The kid stopped to consider Minorikawa's words for a moment. I get you. Yeah, you might be right about that. And I think I have just the thing. May as well go with my usual. He tossed away the piece of wood on the side of the road. Don't you go anywhere till I get back, got it? Yeah, sure thing. Minorikawa watched as the punk headed the way he came. Man, he murmured. What a dumbass! Looking around, he spotted the taxi parks close by. Fortunately, there's only one taxi driver in all of Tokyo. It was Kimazuka. Do you need a ride, sir? Kimazuka said, as all politeness as he opened the back door. If you're heading back to that publishing office again, I can get you there in 10 minutes. Kimazuka's driving was as smooth as always. He wove his way skillfully through a series of back streets. Because Back Street was in fact back. There was some big explosion area, he explained. It was like larger than life. The main roads are all gridlocked. Yeah, Minorikawa muttered. I was there when it happened. Oh, wait, really? I'm glad to see you're not hurt then. Still, what a terrible thing, that minivan. I hear someone was inside when it exploded. I'm not sure if you're aware. Yeah, I'm aware. Oh, nothing gets past a reporter like you, I see. Kimazuka flashed Minorikawa an approving smile through the rear view mirror. Assuming like this is like this is a back street, so It's not the gridlock part. How much have you heard then? Rumor has it the person who died was a middle-aged man. Uh-huh. We taxi drivers tend to hear quite a bit ourselves. Kimazuka chuckled, when Norikawa just cast his eyes down forlornly. You look tired, sir. Yeah, I guess so. His reply was barely audible. Suddenly, someone rushed onto the street right in front of the cab. Look out! Whoa. There was a heavy thunk as the taxi crashed into the pedestrian. Screeching to a halt, Kimazuka and Minorikawa jumped out of the vehicle to find a young man splayed out on the street. Hey, the driver called. You alright? He's fine. The followed pedestrian was practically still a kid, and he wasn't moving. Kimazuka hunkered down and jostled his shoulder, and then his expression stiffened in alarm. Norikawa checked the young man's pulse, but couldn't detect any heartbeat. To be fair, it's not a bad ending for Norikawa because he wasn't the driver, so he's not culpable in this. Oh no, Kimazuka said. This is... Tears began to well up in his eyes. Norikawa turned to him in surprise. You knew him? I did! Kimazuka cradled the young man in his arms. I'm sorry, but you'll have to find yourself another taxi, he said. I'm going to turn myself into the police. I was waiting for him to say he's going to bring him to the hospital where his sister is. Looking down at the boy's unmoving form, Minorikawa felt a pang of guilt. No, he said. I'm the one who's been asking you to drive around so recklessly all day. This is on me too. It's on me. It's on me. On me. But I'll go with the cops. Two men decided to head to the station together and surrender themselves. There probably wouldn't be time to work on the writing articles while they were being interrogated, but that was just how it'd have to be. This was the right thing to do. Minorikawa had to keep telling himself that, knowing there was the truth. I mean, it's peak bureaucracy, isn't it? Minorikawa's day ended in disaster when the taxi he was riding in hit a young man, Archie, who ran onto the street. But why'd the kid rush into the intersection like that? The answer lies in Archie's story. Wait a minute. What time did this happen? Wait, get back here! Wait a minute, this is going to be the same thing, isn't it? Oh, but he has a different weapon? That guy. Pretty sure his name was Kiryu? Back when Archie had been in SOS, he'd never let a girl like that get away acting all high and mighty. Now it seemed like all these young fellas were ready to follow suit, eager to take him down a peg.
You're old news, pal. Ain't your business to tell us how to do things.
And she felt a confusing flow of anger and sadness he couldn't quite control.
I'm not messing around here, you guys.
He grabbed the nearest punk by the collar and hefted him up in the air. Then someone shouted from behind him.
Hey, what are you doing?
Archie put the guy down and turned around to see Susumu standing there. Oh shit. Am I telling me just what's going on here, Archie? Susumu flashed his underling with a sharp glare. They immediately took to their heels. Archie wasn't just about to just let them go. He raced after them.
Hey, get back here!
The gang members sprinted away at full speed. They scattered in different directions to throw him off, but Archie wasn't going to let them get away that easily. He kept after the ringleaders as they headed down towards the Nanpei Dai area, darting down a narrow side street. You could see an intersection up ahead. Archie sped after them, making sure not to take his eyes off them for a second. Uh-oh. With his attention fixed on the fleeing troublemakers, Archie never saw the car speeding directly at him. By the time he registered the impact against his side, he was sailing through the air. More like sailing onto the windshield. Okay, so he was bleeding. They didn't show that part previously. He crashed to the pavement, skewed to a stop, and lay there struggling to breathe. As he watched two men get out of the taxi that hit him, Archie thought to himself, I'm going to die here. He'd been too careless. It had been too late to walk that back. He could hear the sound of his own heart, beating all too slowly. And then, he heard it stop. In his headlong pursuit of some SOS troublemakers, Archie ran right in front of the speeding taxi. Sure, as the gang's former leader, he can't just stand idly by and let them be a menace, but still, maybe it'd make more sense to talk to their current leader. However, what if Minorikawa didn't take the taxi? Apparently he still takes the taxi. Oh wait, shit, if he changes this, then actually doesn't get an opportunity to do that. Okay. Bring it on! The punk swung his wooden club without a moment's hesitation. It struck Minorikawa in the shoulder, knocking him off balance. Well, okay, don't really bring it on. Nah, man, it's too late for takebacks. With a nasty little grin, the young fellow swung again. Then again, catching Minorikawa in the arm and side. I got garden pathed. Only when the journalist was curled up in a battered bowl on the ground did the kid finally let up. Here. Good to get a little warm-up in before I take down that other bitch. Weapon still at hand, the punk marched off towards Dog and Zaka. Hey, are you okay? Minorikawa stirred to find Mizuka at his side. Once again, the man had impeccable timing. Do you need a ride somewhere, maybe, sir? The driver asked, keeping his tone polite. Yeah, I do. To the hospital. Minorikawa has seen some shit today and had some shit flung at him. Hot-headed young punk gave Minorikawa a beating bad enough to send him to the hospital. Maybe our reporter friend shouldn't be quite so confrontational with this fellow. Fine, we'll fix it. Wait a minute. I'm a bit confused at what makes Minorikawa go to the roof. Just what the hell was going on with SOS? I actually needed to talk to Susumu. Wait. Like, the only thing I can think I've noticed is like when I told, like, when he ignored the when he ignored Kiryu, that's when he went to the roof. But every other option seems to take him to the taxi. I asked what was going on here. There was I asked what was going on here. There was a threatening note in Susumu's voice. That's what I want to know. What the hell happened to SOS, man? Susumu's face twisted with displeasure. You're an outsider now. That's none of your business. I don't give a damn if it's my business or not. When I left you in charge of SOS,
You shut your damn mouth, Sesame roared. Yeah, that's right. No, yeah, that's right. You left me in charge, so don't you dare give me any lip about how I run things.
Sudden ferocity left Archie at a loss for words. I mean, I've done every option for Minoru Kawa. Wait.
You're not the one busting your ass out here. I am.
Susumu stalked toward Archie, his face red with emotion.
I've had to work so hard to keep things going for you gone. Do you have any idea what it's been like to be mistreated?
Do you know what I've had to put up with
myself, put myself through to keep SOS together? SOS leader, someone help me.
There was nothing Archie could say to that. He just kept his mouth shut and let Susumu talk.
You were gone. I thought maybe I could do things like you did.
All at once, Susumu seemed to deflate a little. He hung his head, hiding his shame.
And if I couldn't be like you, then...
Hey man, I get it, and I'm sorry. But Susumu kept his face averted.
Please, he muttered. Stay out of our business.
Is that just Hitomi? Oh wait, yeah, she was there the whole time. I forgot. I was like, what is she doing here? Then he turned on his heel and headed off without looking back. Archie watched him leave, feeling a painful sting. I can't help but feel that we haven't seen Yanagishi today, and that makes me sad. Archie? Hitomi asked after Susumu was gone. Are you sure you're okay leaving things like this? Archie shrugged heavily.
Susumu said he's doing what he can. It's not my place to butt in.
He turned his back on Hitomi. He still needed the moment. Archie, you're being unreasonable.
About what?
He felt like he'd been wounded to his very core, but he wasn't sure what to do about it. You want to help people who are in trouble, right? Hitomi asked quietly.
Yeah. I guess.
Archie's voice was glum. Well, I'm in a whole lot of trouble right now.
Yeah, I know that.
No, Archie, you don't. Hitomi's tone was clipped and firm. Please go to your sister.
What are you talking about? That doesn't matter now.
Yes, it does. Hitomi's shout stopped him in his tracks. Archie, right now the thing I'm having most trouble with is that you won't go to the hospital. Don't you get it? How can I possibly be happy with you helping me if you have to sacrifice your own sister to do it? Minoru Kawa gets to go to the hospital though. Maybe Archie should have just only got minorly grazed by a taxi. Then he'd go to the hospital. Archie couldn't answer that, and he knew it. Please, go to the hospital. I'm asking you, and I'm definitely in trouble, so it doesn't count as breaking your promise, right?
I appreciate that,
Archie said softly.
So yeah, how about we drop by the hospital for a bit?
The emotions Archie had been trying to hide now came well into the surface.
We'll find Susan, and after that, we can look for your sister. Would that be okay with you?
That would be more than okay with me. And at long last, Hitomi smiled at him. Back in sync with each other, Archie and Hitomi headed to the hospital. And it turned out that Archie's sister was actually Tama all along. Shibuya Central Hospital was one of the foremost general hospitals in Japan, outfitted with top-notch medical facilities and staffed by highly skilled personnel. Individuals like Suzune with rare blood types were sent to this hospital from far and wide because of its cutting-edge hematology center. The hospital division that deals with blood, its goal is to provide high-end care to patients with blood disorders, including blood screening, treatments, transfusions, the management and supply of blood products, and other related services. If that's a seer, oh yeah, seer. Or if it's just it's a lurking, either way. Archie asked Hitomi to stay in the waiting area while he headed on to the hospital proper. Enjoy your gameplay. From the visitor's entrance, he passed by the nurse's station and then entered the cardiovascular medicine section and walked along a row of examination rooms. The cardiovascular system includes the heart as well as various blood vessels that circulate blood throughout the body. Cardiovascular medicine deals with heart and blood issues such as angina, heart attacks, heart failure, irregular pulse, and the like. He walked by the first room as quietly as possible, catching sight of a mother and daughter sitting together in chairs in the hallway. The mother was crying softly. "Oh, Takuya, he's only 15, she murmured under her breath. No worries, Alex. Have a good sleep. Thanks for coming along. The name Takuya didn't ring a bell. It was the only 15 that got a reaction out of Archie. Only 15. He couldn't imagine anything good coming after that. To be cruelly taken away when someone was so young. Archie could feel the woman's pain as deeply as if it were his own. When he reached Suzune's room, Dr. Saeki, the attending physician, explained her condition. The doctor did his best to keep his explanation simple, but Archie was too worked up to process much of what he said. He did manage to wrap his head around a few things. At around 10 o'clock that morning, Suzune had a seizure. For a while, it had been touch and go, but finally her condition had stabilized. However, since she hadn't regained consciousness yet, she wasn't allowed any visitors. That was the gist as far as Archie could tell. Sorry. Got something in my throat.
What's your father doing today? He still hasn't come by, Dr. Saeki said.
Oh wait, I remember what Dr. Saeki's voice was. Archie wasn't sure what to tell him. It was certainly odd. There was no way his father would have rushed right back to the hospital if he heard Suzune had taken a turn for the worse. To be fair, he didn't answer his phone. Wait, sorry.
I'll give you a call once she's woken up for the hour. You can head on home for the day. Alright.
Please keep it close eye on her, Doctor. Somberly, Archie went to find Hitomi in the waiting area. Hey, it's your area waiting. Outpatient reception had closed for the day, leaving the hospital quiet. His footsteps echoed softly in the corridors. I'm in your area. I'm in. Then, as he walked along, a peculiar sound drew his attention. It had come from over the base of a nearby stairwell. Archie took a peek around the corner. Is that brackets Osawa's wife, bracket? The sight that greeted him and is that Stanley? Nearly made him gasp aloud. In the dim light up ahead, he saw Kanan. And she had some white guy pressed up against the wall, a knife to his throat, as all white guys deserve. Archie quickly yanked his head back out of the view. Could it be? Was this the man Kanan had said she was after? Archie had to resist the urge to go charging out there. Some amateur heading in half-cocked might well be more of a liability to Kanan than any sort of help. I'm a liability. He heard her mutter something to the man in English. We know nothing about Alphard's background, nationality, sex, age. Archie could just barely make out the words, but since it was all in English, he had no idea what they meant. But we do know that wherever they are, they have connections to Langley. Slang for US Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, headquartered in Langley, Virginia. Similar to referring to the Japanese government as Nagatacho, the CIA has other nicknames including the Company, the Agency, the Second Government, the Invisible Government, and the Coup Makers. Blessed are the Coup Makers. Archie peeked out again, very cautiously in time to see the man raise an eyebrow at Kanan's words.
Interesting.
That doesn't mean you need to threaten me at knife point, though.
He flashed her a thin smile.
It does actually, because I happen to know that you're a CIA agent.
Technically known as officers, the CIA referred to its own spies as agents. Someone in charge of directing agents is called a case officer. Case officers are stationed at the embassies across the world in the public guise of diplomats, soldiers, and the like. No sooner were Kanan's words out than the man grabbed her arm and tried to hurl her against the wall. Just before he had connected though, she jackknifed her upper body forward, then planted both feet against the wall and kicked off with tremendous force, which would be really cool if we had a video of it, but we don't. She used her momentum to launch herself forward, regaining her position with a knife against the man's throat. But during his brief opening, the man managed to draw a gun from inside his jacket. Now the barrel was pressed right against Kanan's heart. This is a perfect time for Archie to jump in. Archie swallowed the lump in his throat.
How about we call a truce?
Kanan said softly. She withdrew her knife.
Yeah, sounds like you and me are both after the same thing.
The man likewise lowered his gun. With a faint smile, Kanan turned her back on him and vanished down the adjacent stairwell. Archie had no idea what just happened. They stopped fighting though, so this guy probably wasn't Kanan's mastermind after all. If only Archie spoke a little English, he might have been able to follow their conversation. He found himself wishing he'd taken school more seriously. When he looked again, he saw the man too had disappeared. Hitomi stood up from her chair as Archie hurried into the waiting area. "How's Susune?" she asked.
For now, she's not in any immediate danger, they said.
That's good to hear. There's this thing near me that's like, apparently it's the Terminator, but it doesn't look like it to me.
But more importantly, Kanan was here just now.
What? Why?
I'm not sure. I'm not smart enough to figure that out.
Archie slumped his shoulders. Huh? What? I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Exactly. I couldn't understand anything she was saying. Hell,
he couldn't even figure out how to get through to Hitomi. May I have a moment? A voice spoke unexpectedly from behind Archie. His breath caught in his throat as he turned around. Standing there was the man Kanan had been struggling with.
Ugh, what's up?
Archie asked. He tried to sound as nonchalant as possible, but the man wasn't looking at Archie.
You're Hitomi Osawa, is that right?
Oh, yes.
Hey, Archie snapped. Keep your distance.
He stepped protectively in front of Hitomi.
This guy, he's not what he looks like.
Archie clenched his fists and adopted a defensive posture. Huh? Hitomi seemed panicked. Archie said,
this might be the person Kanan was warning us about. Oh, so you know Kanan, do you?
The man spoke without changing his facial expression.
She let a few things slip herself. Look, who the hell are you? Archie demanded.
The man calmly reached into his jacket's pocket, fearing he might be about to draw his gun. Archie braced for action.
My name is Jack Stanley. I'm a security officer with the US Embassy.
Archie held back his punch as the man held out his ID card. Diplomats are issued diplomatic passports and diplomatic ID cards by their home government. Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also issues its own form of diplomatic identification card. The CIA provides such identification to its operatives working overseas to help maintain their false identities.
Embassy?
What does that someone from the US Embassy want with me? Tommy asked timidly.
You're being targeted by a dangerous criminal. I'm here to take you into protective custody.
Custody?
Archie's voice tapped. Buzz off, pal, we're busy here. Busy searching for Maria Osawa? Stanley asked.
Archie and Hitomi exchanged glances.
I know the full details of the trouble you certainly find yourselves in. Well, alright then, Archie said. Then you should know we don't have time to get taken into custody. I'm afraid you don't understand the situation you're dealing with.
We're up against a dangerous international criminal here. Taking reckless action is only gonna put her life in danger. Don't be a fool, this is no time to play the knight in shining armor. Hey! Actually, was infuriated he couldn't think of a comeback. After all, it was true that Hitomi had run into danger time and again while she was with him. But I'm already safe, Hitomi insisted. I'm only here right now because Archie has been protecting me. She eyed Stanley sharply. I've got Archie with me. I don't need your protection. Archie felt a surge of pride that practically brought tears to her eyes because Hitomi doesn't understand anthropic principle. Sure, she is safe in this timeline, but Archie has brought her into so many dangerous situations that have been on other timelines. If Hitomi would have let him, he would have given her an enormous hug. Stanley grimaced in resignation. Alright. In that case, how about I join your search for Maria? I can help keep you safe that way instead. I don't know. Hitomi grabbed hold of Archie's sleeve. This Stanley fellow didn't have the most trustworthy face, Archie thought, but he realised that we might be biased after being chased around by foreigners all day. After all, if this really were after Hitomi, he'd probably have already made a show of force. Not only did he have a gun on him, but he was sufficiently skilled in martial arts to hold his own against Kanan. He'd have no trouble taking down a single unarmed opponent like Archie. Hitomi, I get the impression that this Stanley guy is not our enemy right now. Hitomi gave a slight nod. That's like literally the opposite of what you just said before, but okay. Alright, I trust your judgment on... Alright, I trust your judgment on this, Archie. Now then, what's the plan from here? Stanley asked. Not wandering aimlessly around town, I hope. There was a trace of snidiness in his voice. You can keep your mouth shut, Archie replied. We can wander around town if we feel like it. Two could play the snarky game, he thought to himself. Poor Hitomi looked distressed. Very well, if that's what you want, I can stay quiet. First, I need to inform my police that I have Mr. Sao in my custody. Wait, hold on, Hitomi blurted. That isn't a good idea. Stanley inclined his head. Why is that? Well, since you already seem to know most of the story, Hitomi quickly explained the kidnapper's threat and described the search of the minivan. Stanley remained quiet, listening with obvious interest. I see, he said as she finished. Still, when that minivan exploded, didn't that make your promise to the kidnappers a moot point? Hitomi nodded. I finally found an American accent for Stanley. I suppose it did, didn't I? Let me just ask one more question. Do either of you know a detective by the name Tatno? No, we haven't run into any detectives. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The only folks we seem to run into are guys who are after Hitomi. I see. Grim expression crossed Stanley's face. Right, I'm gonna get in touch with the investigation task force. I'll have them contact your parents for you. Would you mind speaking with them so they can confirm it's really you? Sure, alright, Hitomi said. Stanley got on his wireless and described the current circumstances to the police.
Mr. Rendo, hold on.
Wait, sorry. Mr. Rendo, hold on. Suddenly, Dr. Sayaki appeared, running down the hallway. There's something I forgot to tell you regarding your father. Oh? Actually got a sinking feeling. I got a call from him yesterday afternoon, and he asked me for something rather odd. Preparations for a transplant? I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure I understand what you're asking. Sayaki clutched the receiver. Daisuke Ende's brooding tone was more than a little disturbing.
No, it's alright, Endo said. This is all just difficult to talk about, Doctor. Please, forget he said anything. There's just one important thing I wanted to let you know.
Yes?
There's going to be a brain-dead woman coming your way at probably around 9 o'clock this evening, I expect. Her blood type is Bombay.
Bombay was the extremely rare blood type that Endo's daughter, Suzune, possessed. Any transplant donor from Suzune would also need to have the Bombay blood type.
Since she has the same blood type as Suzune, the transplant isn't an issue. Endo continued. The only thing I'm concerned about is whether or not the procedure can be done within a limited time window.
And I hate to trouble you, but I just called because I think it would be best to prepare the surgery as soon as possible. The more Sayaki heard, the more disturbed he grew. It felt like he was listening to this man go about some strange delusion. Is Archie's dad involved in this plot?
Doctor, please just take good care of Suzune.
that, Endo hung up. Archie kept quiet as he listened to Dr. Sayaki tell the story.
Of course, that was yesterday, but I still haven't heard anything about a brain-dead girl turning up. After all, only God would know when someone would wind up in a state of brain death. But still, there was just something very strange about what your father said. It was as if he was certain someone was going to wind up brain dead, or...
Just stop right there, Archie exclaimed.
Sammy's homie turned in surprise. They were in the middle of a wireless call before. Hang on. Is this partly what the kidnapping is about? They wanted to... I'm actually not sure now. It's so complicated and confusing.
Don't get me wrong, the doctor said hastily. I'm not trying to imply that your father would hurt anyone. What I'm worried about is your father's mental state and...
No,
Archie interrupted him again.
that's not it.
His own words from earlier spun within his head.
So long as we have these cameras, this guy has nowhere to run.
Hey, there's Yanagisha, finally. Security cameras.
I'm sure this is the place.
The man with the cane. He'd been on the phone with someone. Archie's reaching the wrong conclusion. That didn't mean anything. It was just a coincidence. It couldn't be true. Archie searched desperately for some other explanation. That was it. Anyone from the Downtown Committee could have used the camera monitoring room.
Yep, no one's been by to check today. Nothing wrong with a little nap yet.
No dice. No one from downtown had been by the surveillance room today.
It could be.
It couldn't. Archie began to tremble. Is something the matter? Otomi asked. Archie, you're as pale as a ghost. Archie gazed back beseechingly into her face. With just one simple question, he could clear this whole thing up. Please tell me I'm overthinking this. He prayed inwardly before asking.
Hitomi, would you mind telling me your blood type?
Why do you ask?
Please, just tell me.
But her sister has a different blood type to her. I have a sort of weird blood type, Hitomi said. It's called Bombay. The plot thickens! The last piece of the puzzle fell into place. There was no longer any room for doubt. Archie found himself facing a sad and painful truth.
Why? Why?
With an anguished scream, Archie punched the wall as hard as he could. But his fists still didn't hurt as much as his heart. But we know Maria has a different blood type.
Dad, why?
Interesting. Haven't seen a jump back to Osawa's timeline. Before we continue, we'll just mess around with these choices a bit.
I know who he is, but he's not our friend.
The man calmly reaches into his jacket pocket. Fearing he might be able to draw a gun, Archie braced for action.
My name is Jack Stanley.
Yep, okay. No change. What about this one? Actually, couldn't answer that and he knew it. Please, go to the hospital. I'm asking you, and I'm definitely someone in trouble, so it doesn't count as breaking your promise, right?
I appreciate that.
Archie said softly.
And I'll remember it when all this is done.
Archie! Hang on. So this changes Tano's timeline because Wait, maybe it's Minorikawa did that. But like, the thing I'm wondering about Kano's timeline is that Stanley managed to have catch Hitomi even on an Archie is dead timeline. I'm confused about that. I'm sorry, I've made up my mind. We can go to see Suzune after we've rescued your sister. Hitomi looked like she had more to say, but Archie grabbed her by the hand and dragged her off to Endo Electronics. As they turned a corner, Archie caught sight of a group of foreign men heading in their direction on the other side of the street. The men saw them too and immediately broke into a run towards them. These are the guys from the from the shops before.
Damn it! How are there still more people chasing after us?
Archie spun around and started to sprint in the other direction. Maybe these new guys were associates of the foreign thug who'd fought the man with the cane. Archie mulled it over as they ran, getting farther and farther from Dog and Zaka. The crooks were clearly pretty familiar with the layout of Shibuya. They weren't easy to lose. Archie and Tomi finally lost sight of them somewhere around Nanpei Dai, finally stopping once they got to Sakuragaoka. Enjoy your raids. You know, they can't stop raiding us. I feel like I'm just riding solo, but that's alright. I have fun with this game anyway.
Are you alright, actually found it?
Yes, I think so.
Well, guess we wound up coming here anyway.
Hitomi raised an eyebrow in confusion.
Suzune Hospital. It's just over there.
In that case, can you please just go and see her? She fixed on him with a look of earnest pleading, and despite his misgivings, Archie nodded. I feel like that'll affect something. Otherwise, there aren't many decisions in this section. Alright, so what happens to Kano now? Bikuze suddenly shook his head. What happened to Susayama isn't your fault. Don't blame yourself, he said. As far as this case goes, I've been given quite the run over myself. This is Reno vomit already called his voice. The higher ups have barely given me any information to wriggle my way. They're still ordering me around non-stop. Oh, there's more? When does... Was that a glitch? I didn't do anything. Nearly there. With that grisly warning, he hung up. Kano's hand went limp, his phone slipped from his grasp and fell to the floor. Fell to the floor, I'm sure. Da, 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 da. He needed to get Tatano and find out what was going on. He started running alone towards Nanpei Dave, taking the quickest route through the back streets and alleys. Aha! He almost made it to South Hill when he spotted 3 foreigners in a narrow alley ahead. They were scanning the area as if searching for someone, and when they noticed Kano, they started running right for him. They're all dressed in the same kind of black clothes Al wore. Kano recognized them at once. Syndicate members had recently taken part in the ransom relay. In a matter of moments, they had him cornered. "Out of my way," he said. "I'm in a hurry." But even they didn't understand him, or they simply didn't care to respond. Instead, they moved in to attack, pummeling him with fists and kicks. It's gonna be an oof, bruh. It was 3 against 1. Kano didn't stand a chance, although he tried desperately to protect himself. Soon he was sprawled on the ground like a used and tattered rag. The men left him where he fell. As they jogged into the distance, they could see him searching again. The deserted alleyway grew quiet as the storm's aftermath. "I need to get to Tatano." He strained to reach out for his cell phone, but he couldn't move any of his fingers. En route to Nanpei Dai, Kano crossed paths with Al Coran's cronies and got badly beaten. Ironically, these crooks hadn't been looking for him. Someone else had led them to Nanpei Dai, and Kano wound up paying the price as a result. Truly, this is the butterfly effect. It's a slow decay. You never run around. Wait, but Kano just keeps going now? Because Minoru Kawa isn't on the roof. What are you pointing that gun at, you T-head? Kano stared in shock. "Detective Tatano, why are you doing this? Is that really Maria?" Tatano responded by removing the young woman's blindfold. There was no doubt about it. She looked very much like Hitomi Osawa. A surge of frustration rushed through Kano. "Detective Tatano, what is the meaning of this?" Kano fought to remain calm. He felt like he was on the verge of falling to pieces, like a she-wolf. Bring me Hitomi Osawa, and I'll let this girl go." "Why? What do you need Hitomi for?" But Tatano's only answer was an icy stare. "This isn't like you, it's so weird. The Detective Tatano who I know." "Who you know?" Tatano cut him off. "What do you know about me?" "I know what sort of detective you are, sir, because I've modelled myself after you for my whole career." The older man's expression remained stony. "Don't you remember," Kano said, "that time you risked your whole life to take down that man who barricaded himself inside that office? Ever since then you've been my—" Tatano interrupted with a sudden burst of laughter. "You really are gullible, you know that? You can only see things the way you want to see them." "What do you mean by that?" "The truth is, I didn't even care if I died doing what I did. That's why I doused myself in gasoline." Tatano's voice had gone low and quiet. "That was no display of heroics. It was more attempted suicide than anything else. I wasn't thinking about the other people still in the building. It's just a coincidence that things turned out the way they did." "So then, if you'd made a single misstep, then everyone in that building might as well have burned down to death." "You're lying! I never hit you!" "That can't be true." Kano shook his head insistently. "I don't have time for this conversation." Tatano pressed the barrel of his gun to Maria's head. "If you don't bring Hitomi Osawa to me, believe me, I'll blow her brains out." "Please stop this," Kano shouted. There was no hesitation in Tatano's eyes. He looked like he really would shoot Maria if Kano didn't do as he asked. Hurry up, bring Hitomi to me." "Can you at least tell me what's going on?" "Go now, or else, so help me, I'll shoot." Kano drew his own gun from his jacket. "I know you, Detective Tatano. I know there's some meaning behind all this." "Hey, Merivale." Kano's words came out as a simple, imploring croak. Welcome to the crazy world of Japanese visual novels. "You think you can shoot me?" Tatano spat, letting Al go free, taking Maria hostage. This has to mean something. Sweat made Kano's hands slick where he clenched his gun. "I asked if you think you can shoot me. I've always looked up to you. You were the sort of detective I wanted to become. Kano's view of Tatano began to blur as tears welled in his eyes.
Can you shoot me, Kano?
I can. Even as he cried, Kano stood resolutely, doing his best to stare down the older man. He set his finger squarely on the trigger and pointed his gun at Tatano's forehead. Suddenly the piercing stare vanished from the other detective's eyes.
I've got to give you full marks for that, Kano.
Tatano smiled thinly.
I'll tell you then. I'll tell you why I'm doing this.
Here we go.
It all happened 17 years ago.
A meth addict had assaulted someone in Shibuya. Tatano was questioning people around Dogenzaka for the search of the perp. He happened to pass by Endo Electronics.
Oh, hey, Tatano.
Oh shit. It was Kotono Endo, clad in pristine white. That's baby Archie! Clutched to her breast was her... Oh, never mind. Her... Wait, so... Oh, it's Archie's sister, sorry. His daughter, Suzuno, only a few months old. It's been a long time, Kotono said. She flashed a tiny smile.
Yes, it has,
Tatano replied with a clumsy smile of his own. Are you on the job?
Yes, I am.
Kotono recoiled slightly at the dour look on Tatano's face. Is something the matter?
There's an armed criminal hiding out somewhere in the area.
What?
I wouldn't leave the shop for a while if you can avoid it.
But I have to go to the bank to deposit some money.
Surely you can have Daisuke do it.
He's away on a repair job and hasn't come back yet. Tatano let out a one-note sigh. I see Daisuke still does things his own way.
Alright, let me escort you to the bank.
You mean it? I feel a lot safer having you with me. Kotono flashed him a smile so wide Tatano thought he might lose himself in it. Tatano, Kotono, and Daisuke were all old friends and gone to school together from high school. Oh my god. It all links up together. Tatano and Daisuke were always clowning around together, and Kotono was always alongside them laughing. To think Tatano, well, maybe he was going to in the locked off area, but he doesn't mention that they actually got married. It had been quite some time since he'd gone to walk along Dogenzaka with Kotono.
How have you been lately?
Well, with a newborn to look after, it's been pretty hectic, but there's never a dull moment. Things have been good.
I'm glad to hear it.
Kotono was bright as a sunflower. Sometimes Tatano managed to convince himself that just the sight of her was enough. Outside the bank, Kotono held Suzuno out to him. Tatano received the baby with an anxious frown. What's with the face?
I'm not good with babies.
I haven't held one very often. Oh, you'll be fine, don't worry. Just hold on to her for a minute while I take care of things inside. Don't give her any heart complications.
Alright.
He held the baby gingerly, like it was a bomb that might explode at any moment. Kotono chuckled softly. Suzuno stirred and squirmed in Tatano's arms. She kind of has Kotono's eyes, he thought. It was strange, the sensation of holding a child. She was so soft and light, yet a real and responsive presence. The faint warmth of her body warmed Tatano inwardly in turn. When Kotono returned after making her deposit, they strolled to a nearby park, Suzuno back in her mother's arms. Do you have any plans for marriage, Tatano? I haven't thought about it. Work has me plenty busy. Oh, that's just an excuse, Kotono said. If there really was some woman you wanted to marry, you wouldn't let work stop you. No, I'd let my friends stop me. Then I suppose there haven't been anyone I really felt that way about. Really? Nobody this whole time? Well, yeah, really. I see. But still, seeing the two of you like this makes me realise how nice having a family could be. Shit, that was his voice. Tatano peered deeply into Suzuno's face. Well, if it ain't Tatano. He looked up at a cheery voice that cut into the conversation. It was Daisuke. What are you doing here? He asked to his wife. I could ask you the same question. Come on, give me a break. I've come to bank the deposit for the client. In this case, no need to worry. I just took care of it myself. I thought you'd forgotten about it. Huh? Really? Kotono smiled as Daisuke reached and carefully lifted Suzanne in his arms. Beaming happily at his daughter, he nuzzled up against her tiny cheek. Daisuke, no, long time no see. Yeah, glad you're still doing well for yourself, Tatano. They walked side by side, Daisuke proudly showing off Suzanne's drowning steady face. What do you think? Adorable, isn't she? Yeah, luckily she doesn't have your looks. Hey now, bad mouthing me Sam as ever, huh? Some things hadn't changed since high school. Want to drop by our place for a bit, Daisuke offered. Ah, sorry, I'm in the middle of a job actually. Tatano turned to glance at Katane. What? In an instant later, Daisuke screamed, Katane! A man had come up behind his wife and had a kitchen knife to her throat. That looks like one of the debt collector guys. Maybe it's just a shirt. Katane stood stiffly, frozen in terror. Let her go! Tatano took a step toward the man. The slight upturned eyes, the close-cropped hair, the thin moustache, all the details matched the description. This had to be the man Tatano was after. Shut your damn mouth! You wanna try and kill me, huh? This lady here wants to try and kill me! The man was babbling nonsense. The reports had said the suspect was a tweaker. Right now, his mind was probably a complete mess from meth withdrawal. Left unchecked, there was no telling what he might do. Tatano shoved Daisuke behind him and drew his gun from his jacket. Wait, don't shoot, you'll hit Katano! But Tatano ignored Daisuke's shouts and trained his gun on the perp's shoulder. He was confident in his marksmanship. He'd never miss at this range. Tatano, please, back down, Daisuke pleaded. Suzanne still clutched in his arms. I beg you! I can't, Tatano hissed under his arms. This isn't someone we can reason with. The assailant began waving his knife about. He could stab it into Katano at any moment. Tatano had to take the shot now. He aimed for the shoulder of the arm the man held his knife in. Tatano, stop, Daisuke shouted. Don't do this! For a brief moment, Tatano's eyes met Katano's. He thought he saw her give a tiny nod. Don't shoot! Is it going to give him a limp or something with a knife? That's why he has the cane. Wait, she's okay. Wait, no. What's happening? Parasite. It was all over in an instant. By the time Tatano had the perp subdued, Katano's white shirt was soaked through with red. Soaked up with all in red. Katano's death, so too died Tatano's heart. Whatever feelings he had lived inside him had reduced to cinders, leaving only a never-ending need to atone. Countless times he thought of ending his life in order to make things up to Daisuke and his children. The only reason he didn't go through with it was he knew death would be the easy way out, so he stayed on as a detective. He would carry the weight of his sins with him as long as he lived. Oh, there's baby Archie! This was the sentence Tatano gave himself. "15 years had passed since Katano's death. For the first time, Tatano had gone to visit her grave. He was standing by the grave marker with his hands clasped when someone called out to him from behind. Excuse me." A slender young woman stood there, flower in hand. Tatano